So my first long video on this channel was making a rug for my friend's birthday. Let's call her Friend A. In this video, I consulted my other friend, Friend B, about the progress of Friend A's rug. Oh, how the turns have tabled, because now it's Friend B's birthday, and I wonder what I'll make her. Actually, to be honest with you, she totally knows I'm making her a rug. And to be fair, it didn't help when I messaged her asking what her bedroom floor looked like. But she doesn't know exactly what kind of rug I'll make her. And to be honest, I don't really know either. But then I had a realization. She sent our friend group chat photos a while back of some fairy lights that she crocheted for her room. And then it hit me. We're gonna make her a rug that matches the fairy gardencore aesthetic of her room. We're gonna make her a pond rug. Now, this rug is going to be a mini rug, and we're going to try and make it as close as possible to a circle, but I'm not too picky on the final shape. I have a design that I drew up in Procreate that I won't show because no spoilers, but I'll kind of describe how it looks while I'm sketching the pattern onto my monk's cloth here. I'm using an 8B pencil so that the lines are nice and dark, and I'll go over it after with a black Sharpie. So this pond will have a border of multicolored stones, and inside the pond, we'll have some flowing water with 3 bigger water lilies in the center and 2 branches with leaves and smaller flowers encircling them. My color palette is kind of limited here, but we'll do our best and we'll see how it goes. Now, my rug is bigger than my gripper frame, so I'm starting on the biggest section right here, and then I'll move the rug around to punch the rest of it. In any case, it's always a good idea to start by punching the borders of your rug, so that's what I'm doing. I'm using an Oxford 9 regular punch needle and wool rug yarn to start off on the border. And by the way, I'm not sure if you've noticed, this setup is newer. I'm sitting at a desk instead of on the floor. Isn't that fun? I think that it makes it a little easier for everyone to see my progress too, which is great. And as you can see, I'm doing the border in bits and pieces, making sure that the outer 2 rows of the rug are made with smaller stitches than the filler inside. And we do this so that when we hem the rug, the monk's cloth won't peek out at the edge. So I did about as much of the visible completed border that I see, and now I'm gonna get started with the inside. We're gonna use the 10 regular for the inside of the pond, and for some odd reason, I don't know why, I have an inexplicable desire to use the color pink. So I'm starting off with the smaller flowers that I was telling you about while drawing the pattern, and you might be wondering, how are you punching those tiny dots? That's an excellent question. The dots are done with 3 small stitches. 3 is the absolute minimum number of stitches that you can use. Don't use any less than that, or else they'll come out. Once we snip the ends of our yarn on the front of our rug and adjust the rest of the loops as we fill them in, they'll look nice and small. I'm punching the outlines of these flowers with small stitches as well, just like the outer 2 rows of the border, so that they keep their shape and don't end up as blobs. Okay, so I'm gonna employ the strategy that I like to call the yarn declutter. I'll explain this. I'm gonna punch the water lilies so that once I'm done with them, I can put away the yellow and gold yarns I have here. I won't need them elsewhere for this project anyways. Again, I'm using the same technique of smaller stitches on the outlines so that they maintain their shape. This rug is all about experimentation, and that includes the type of stitches that we do as well. I'm punching the vein of this leaf using a stem stitch, so turning my needle 90 degrees to the left. This will make nice tube-shaped loops that'll pop out nicely. I'm using the stem stitch for the branches as well, and I'm doing a double row, if you can see, one with green yarn and one with light brown for the branches, because I think it'll give some sort of definition to them, kind of in like a 3D way, and separate them from the leaves as well. Funny story, I had to crop this clip a little bit because you can see the tiniest little sliver of my face in it. And while I don't mind doing a face reveal at some point, I like the mystery of being faceless. I got a little impatient here and started punching some of the water, but I did finish up the leaves here completely. So let's take a look at the back right now, and it looks kind of messy, doesn't it? This is normal. This is exactly how it's supposed to look before we snip off the ends of yarn and clean up the loops. I'm gonna do that right now off camera and then get started with the water. But first, this video is sponsored by me. Yes, me. Have you ever watched my videos and thought to yourself, I wanna make that? Well, now you can, because I just opened my shop and I'm selling digital patterns for some of my works. Woo! To celebrate, I'm giving everyone 15% off my patterns for the first week of my shop launch, which is honestly a steal because look how cheap they are already. Use code FIRSTWEEK15, that's FIRSTWEEK15 at checkout to get 15% off my digital patterns for the first week. And yes, there will be more patterns and other items coming soon, so stay tuned. Thanks! Now back to punch needling. I'm punching the water right now, and I'm using nice big filler stitches because that is literally what this is, filler. Punching smaller stitches throughout will only make this rug overcrowded. The only time we're making smaller stitches is when we're punching in a tight corner or space and want to make sure that the water shows up. I'm using 3 different yarn colors for the pond, and I wasn't sure if the darkest blue would work, but it's not looking horrible, so we're gonna run with it. Now, this part of the video is pretty boring because, well, I don't really have much to add. I'm basically just following the pattern I drew out and punching in the water. But man, I am obsessed with the way my stitches look. Like, look at them. Like, look at the evenness, the spacing. Like, I could just stare at this for hours. And that's the important thing about punch needling. You'll also hear this from experienced fiber artists in different crafts, like embroidery as well, but the back of your work should look as good as the front. If you're not salivating just looking at your stitches, bestie, you're not doing it right. And no, you cannot cover up your mistakes with glue. And I'll rant about this more once I get to hemming the rug. But I'm switching back to the border because I got tired of doing filler stitches, and now I'm moving kind of closer to the edge. I'm filling in most of what's visible and leaving a nice long end of yarn at the very edge, so that when I move my rug, like I'm doing now, I can rethread the yarn and continue punching where I left off, and no one will be able to tell that my rug was moved around. Brilliant, isn't it? But yeah, I'm just basically switching up what I punch, just doing whatever I feel like doing. I'm also making a couple of adjustments to my pattern so that it'll look better. At least that's what I hope will happen. I ran into a little bit of a water problem though, as I finished the rug up. See that darkest blue that I'm using for the water? Yeah, I was running out of that blue. I only bought 1 skein. Oops. So I made a bunch of tiny adjustments to the rug pattern so that I could use as little of that blue as possible. There were parts where I absolutely needed it though to make it look seamless and flowing, but I ended up having enough for those parts of the rug, which was good. And now it was time for more snipping and poking. I already did a bunch of it on the right, and you can see the difference it makes to your work. So many people give up punch needling at this stage. It's like that meme of that guy digging and then stopping right before he hits the diamonds. It's literally right there! But it does take a while to snip the ends of yarn and poke the loops around so that they're in the right place. I did most of this off camera. But once I did that, I was done punch needling. Finally! As you can see, punch needling is a slow craft and it takes time to make something. and this is the reason why my upload schedule is the way it is. I could totally pump out video after video for Mr. John Algorithm and make myself that sweet, sweet AdSense money. But I want to make sure that you're seeing my best work and getting a good quality video out of it too. So if you appreciate some nice, good craft videos that don't bore you out of your mind, you should like, subscribe, and turn on notifications by clicking the bell. Thanks! Now let's hem this rug. Once you take a rug off a gripper frame, it's not gonna lie flat. In fact, it'll be really bendy. You'll have multiple feelings at this point: sadness, anger, confusion, and grieving the time that you lost by working so hard on something that isn't even flat. Beloved viewer, your feelings are in vain because after every punch needle piece, you're supposed to steam press your work so that it lies flat. Grab a wet towel and throw it on top of your work. I'm putting my iron on the wool setting with no steam, and then ironing the wet towel with my rug underneath. This will make the rug lie flat and also settle any uneven loops that we have in our rug. 2-for-1 deal. Also, I cannot believe I have to say this, but don't try this with any acrylic or synthetic yarns. I am legally not responsible if you do so and end up melting your work in the process. But please @ me on Twitter with a photo so I can laugh and make fun of you. But seriously, punch needling at its roots is meant to create rugs that last generations. Using natural fibers, especially wool, guarantees this. Another thing that guarantees this is hemming your rugs by hand. I said it before, I'll say it again, I don't care if I get canceled. You can't cover up your mistakes with glue. No matter which kind you use, it ruins your rugs and they'll eventually fall apart. I feel a certain obligation in my heart to stop you from screwing yourself over by doing that, or at least show you how a quality rug is made. So I'm going to show you how to properly hem a circular rug. I'm drawing a 2-inch border on the outside of my rug here on the front side, and then drawing a dotted line 1 inch from the outside of our rug. So I'm cutting on the 2-inch border line and then sewing a basting stitch on the 1-inch dotted line. And I'm just using some old embroidery floss so I can see it better. And once I'm done sewing around, I pull at it. Beyblade, let it rip. On the back of my rug, the monk's cloth just folds in on itself nicely, and this will become the hem for this rug. So I first clipped and pinned it into place, and then using frayed strings of monk's cloth and an embroidery needle, I hemmed the rug by doing a whip stitch every ½ inch around. I actually don't have much footage of this part because it requires me to hold the edge of the rug and bend it a little while I'm sewing to make sure that the hem is flat. But once that was done, I removed the basting stitch, and that's hemming a circular rug. Now you know. Now I'm just going to clean up the rug by first ironing it again, with steam this time, to make sure that it stays flat once again, and then using a sticky roller and lint remover to remove any fuzz on the rug. And here is what the finished rug looks like. I love it. I love it. I'm obsessed. It's so cute, and I feel like it's gonna match really well in my friend's room. Also, speaking of friends, remember friend A from the beginning of my video? Don't worry, she got updates on the rug as I was working on it, but I had a pretty clear vision this time around, so our messages were basically like, she's the best. And there we have it, the pond rug. Thanks for sticking around until the end. Remember to subscribe, and until next time.